I think that was about, we have an opportunity when the page is something, um, the page layout should be one way, but when the page is something else, like when the space is something else, I need to see the related list. I think I gave that assignment. Somebody text me. They sent me screenshots of what they have done. I think they did. I think Niranjan is the person. He texted me with the screenshots of what he has done. I think he did the right way. Um, but did anybody do that? Did anybody try? Yeah, just, I mean, if in case you want, please go back and what you call do that, because that one requirement, whatever we have, um, what you call will help you to understand 3 or 4 different concepts and be able to um, like help us to understand all 3 or 4 concepts and be able to work together on the same one. And then I just want to give you this basic trailhead module in the chat, which I just want you guys to start looking. It's just a simple trail, platform basics. Like, I mean, we covered this a long back, but I just want you guys to start doing this. Now, let me just share my screen. All right. All right, good. Okay, so I think we are talking about data loader before, I think, before in the previous session that we had. Yeah, we had. So we have the data loader, and in the data loader, I think we started with what you call creation of a folder for data loader, and then within the data loader folder, we have a success error log, and then we spoke about, when you fire up the data loader, we spoke about the settings that it comes with. Like here, let me show you the settings that come here, where you can set the batch size, you can set the server host, whether it should be test.salesforce.com or login.salesforce.com. We also spoke about some of the things, some of the common issues that you face while working on data loader in real time, where the batch size. We sometimes, even though the code have to be written in a proper bulkified manner, sometimes you always will not work in projects where everything is written by you. You will be working on projects where code will be written by other people, and sometimes some code is poorly written, or even though the code is properly written, you don't have a way. The business logic could be so complicated that you might not be able to handle it for like 200, 300 records at a time. So keeping all these things in mind, if you are getting an error like request too long, request timed out, or anything like that, try to reduce the batch size and run it. Okay. So, I mean, I've been involved in places where we keep the batch size as 1 and still be writing, but the default batch size is 200. Okay. So these are the settings, and also the server URL. Export is nothing but we can query the data and download it into an Excel CSV format. Export all is nothing but, we just export it from even the records in the recycle bin will be exported. Insert, we have seen it, we created an what you call CSV file, and then we loaded the data like this. We even loaded the data, and then I gave you a few things like when you want to insert, we spoke about how the template should be prepared, because the template should be like this, where you need to have the API names as columns. The reason, if you have the API names, when using data loader, you will be able to do an automatic mapping. Like, when you just click map fields, auto map fields, you'll be able to do that automatic mapping. And I think I've also shown you something where if you notice here, like if you notice the contact, I think I showed you one of the contacts. So if you notice here, this is the contact that we loaded. Like this is one of the contacts that we loaded. But if you notice the account, you are seeing the account name here. But technically in the backend, this account name is nothing but it is storing the 18-digit ID of the account. Okay, so this is the primary key for the contact, and this is a foreign key. Like that 18-digit ID is the ID. Like if you open this account, you see this account has its own ID. This is the primary key for this account, but this primary key is also used here as a foreign key. Like, this is nothing but secondary key or foreign key, whatever it is. But if we put that 18-digit ID here, like if I put if I have this 18-digit ID like this, nobody will know what this is. Like if you see the account name like this, would you be able to identify what it is? No. But that's why technically what Salesforce is, even though in the backend it is storing the 18-digit ID, Salesforce is automatically parsing that ID and getting the name for it. Okay, you see contact owner, it is a lookup, like, it is a relationship field. It is showing my name, but technically if you query in the backend, it is storing this value like this. Okay, it is storing that value, but of course, if we store it like this, nobody would understand, and hence that's why Salesforce is, automatically parsing and doing that, and hence whenever you are creating an object, remember Salesforce forces us to create a name field, whether it can be an auto number or a text field. It forces us to create a name field. And that's the reason why, because wherever there are primary keys or secondary keys, wherever the keys are used, like lookup relationship fields are used, we don't want to be in a situation where we just display the ID, and because of that, the platform forces us to have a name field. It parses it and it shows up there. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. I mean, again, I want you guys to just like randomly, very randomly try performing the data load, like, either load some contact records, load some employee records, employee salary records. Just take the data loader, spend some time on the data loader and see, where you guys are at. Like, and when you get questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. The reason why I asked that is in my starting stage, when I started working on my starting stage, the moment I figured out data loader, like you get when you start loading the data, when you know the data model, when you are thinking about object relationships and all that stuff, your understanding of the platform opens so much wider. Okay, and that's why I'm asking you to just practice. It doesn't need to be specific object. Try loading the data. You have the basic, for exporting and inserting the data, you have some what you call understanding. Just practice it. Again, you might be doing your master's and you might feel like, hey, you know what? I might not even work in Salesforce. I might go into another technology. Yeah, but still, data loader helps you, because if you are good with data loader, it doesn't matter which. As long as you are in IT and as long as you are doing a job in IT, no matter what, whether it's admin, developer, BA, it doesn't matter. That knowledge will not be taken away from you, and that would be the most helpful thing. Okay, so practice loading data into the system. Oh man, you will notice, after 2-3 hours of practice, you will notice, oh, I see systems differently. I see the requirements differently now. That would be the change that you would feel. Okay. All right. I also wanted to let you know, here is what happened. Here is one other real example that I want to take up. So, in Salesforce, we have Lightning for past 2.5 years or 1.5, 2 years. Lightning became more popular. Now, I work in one project where we haven't enabled Lightning. We do all the things in Visualforce, and now we wanted to go to Lightning. We are trying to implement Lightning. Now, Lightning implementation is not day one. It's a whole 2-year-long project where, we want people to be working in Lightning and all that. So what happened, we have developers in our team. We have around 9, 10 developers in our team. And we have been working on Visualforce. Not everybody is, not everybody is what you call practice themselves and, get new technology, get used to the new technology and stuff. So everybody is good, but they just, not everybody will be self-practicing themselves the new technologies or new features that come up. But I think from next month onwards, our goal is to do every development in Lightning. So, we don't, just because we are moving into Lightning, firing all the developers and keeping only people who know Lightning is harsh. That's not the right way to do. Instead, because we have the team working for last 3-4 years, it's better to equip the current people with that new knowledge. And, working out with them would be a better chance, better option rather than just hiring new people just for the sake that we are moving into a new platform. Now, we have another manager, so where all the people report to both of us. So we were discussing, hey, what could we do? What could we do so everybody gets in line with the Lightning? So my managers, the co-manager that I have, he suggested an idea that, hey, you know what? Let's give an assignment for them. And let's give 2 weeks time to finish the assignment. Let's make some teams. Let's give the assignment. Let's give 2 weeks time, and let's see what they come back with. And from there we can. It's not like we are not judging anybody. It's like if we give an assignment, people will be able to practice something and try to understand the framework. But my thought was different. What I suggested? Let's not do that. Let's not give 2-week assignment. On the coming Friday, this is this Friday, let's book a conference room for 5 hours, from 12 to 5, let's just book a conference room. And, on the spot, let's have prizes, And on the spot, let's make some teams and give some topics. Hey, you know what? Build a Lightning component with this. Give them a feature. I want to use one of the features that is built using Visualforce and just take it and say, hey, build this in Lightning. I want to ask them to come up with ideas. First 15 minutes of that, I want to ask them to come up with ideas. Hey, what do you guys want to do in Lightning? What do you like about, I already sent a link of the Trailhead module for them to start practicing Lightning 3 weeks ago, informing that there will be a hackathon competition on this Friday. So then, we will have the competition this Friday. They will be. The reason why I wanted to do that 4 hours thing, right, rather than 2 weeks, when you give that 2 weeks time, you are not being, you're not stressed or anything. You'll be like, hey, you know what, when time comes, we'll think about it. But when everything is online, when you really have that 4 hours, and when your manager is going to judge you depending on the code that you build, and when there is a prize at stake, and when there is a certificate that comes with it, when all these things are at stake, that 4 hours, you will spend the utmost interest to be able to do something, and there is something good is going to come out of it. That's why I don't want to do all the 2 week long. I wanted to write on that day at that moment. Now, the goal for us is not to build, awesome apps right within that 4 hours. The goal as managers, the goal was to, let's introduce the Lightning framework. No matter how much you teach, they will not be able to do. Let's introduce the Lightning framework. Let's time box it. Let's time box it to 4 hours and see what people would come up with. It's good. Even if one component is not built, it's good. But at least the 4 hours full focus concentration will be on learning this new framework, which they would never be able to do that even if we give 3 weeks time. The reason why I'm giving that example is hands-on work. Hands-on work, nothing can replace the hands-on work. So I can teach you 100 things, 1,000 things, 2,000 things, but unless you are putting that hands-on work, uh, especially with the things like data loader or anything, even though I do not give any assignment or say anything, just try to repeat whatever we have done in the class. That will not be taken away from you anywhere. Okay? Now let's move
Shravan,
on
I was
to
just
business.
thinking one thing.
Yes.
Uh, I'm a person like you teach every day. I am not, I just get 10% out of it, whatever you teach me. But once I refer your recordings, and then only I have 90% of confidence in that topic. So I would go with a person who you give 2 weeks and then you call me and say that, oh, tell me, or you ask me after 2 weeks, I can explain you better. But in this 3 or 4 hours thing, that what you are saying, if I'm an employee, I don't think that I will be able to give my 100% in that 4 hours. Because even you at this point, after 5 years, will have to refer documentation or look at internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So expecting that they will be giving 100% in 4 hours, like I
That's
might
a
lose
good
the
question.
competition in this case.
No, that's a good one. Maybe there is some kind of selfishness that's involved. Here is why I am that kind of person. When I say I'm that kind of person, I schedule my certification exam. Usually, I schedule my certification. Hey, you know what? I want to write a certification exam 2 weeks from now. Okay. But what would I do? So far, I have like 16, 17 certifications. Every certification that I took, I always schedule my certification exam on Saturday morning, and I only prepare for that exam on Friday night. That too, I start after watching a movie at 12 o'clock in the night. I start. I don't sleep. I just go straight and write an exam and come back. Now, I've seen most people doing that. Like, when there is something online, that's when, like, you open it or you try to do something. And with the lightning experience, so it's not like, I practiced everything all over. In my personal experience, what I did is, there is lightning experience that came out. People are talking about it. I've seen a couple of documents, but I haven't implemented anything hands-on. But a requirement came up, and my manager is like, you know what? I need this in 3 days. This is like urgent. The business needs it. There is no other way around. I want you to be the developer and do it. And I want it in 3 days. At that point, I didn't had a choice. I didn't had a choice. I didn't had time, and hence I have to go through the documentation and do all that stuff. And after 2 days, I was really surprised how that component came up. I'm like, everybody's like, is this your first component? Did you get your first component like this? Is this the first time you are putting something hands on? Now, that's like an eye opener for me. The thing is, I know there is Lightning framework that exists. It's been an year, but I have never really done anything. But when I was put online, like, when my manager asked me, hey, I mean, the job was not online, but we don't have an option. You have to do this. Then I didn't have a choice. I had to, get my hands down. I had to start doing something hands-on. And barely 3 hours or 4 hours into it, I was able to, build. And I mean, I'm self-boasting here, but that was an extraordinary component. I really feel like, oh, did I really do this? Even when I go back and look at that code, I feel like that. Now, the point what I wanted for them is everybody in the team, they're all working for 4 years, 5 years now. Your case is different. You are not you're not working already. These people have been working for 4 or 5 years. So technically, because there is a framework change that's going on, everybody must already be aware of it. Now, if they are not aware of it, I want to create a situation where you are thinking about just that framework and nothing else for at least 4 or 5 hours, and you get some knowledge out of it. That's why I'm not expecting them to be building a huge component within 4 or 5, but the winning point would be, you know what? I know how the framework works, or I know how it is similar to Visual Force. I know what are the differences. And because you do it in a team and you have people helping you when you are stuck, you might be able to come up with something. So the reason I want to put people online, and, again, because even though directly or indirectly we say it, nobody's judging and everything, but we are, right? Indirectly, when somebody is winning a prize, means, yeah, we are judging you and we are saying, yeah, you did a great job. When things like that are online, people would tend to focus more and, get try to give their best within that 3 hour time. And the great result from that would be, you know, you learn the basic framework at least. I would love time boxing it. I had one of my managers, like, in another company.
Are you
He's
in
such an
favor of this
extraordinary man.
time frame or no?
Yes, I am in favor of this time boxing.
Oh
I
my God,
am in
it's like
absolute favor of time boxing.
I'm just opposite to it. I give me 2 days, and yes, after that you can ask me anything, and I'll be ready with the answers and the you what you're expecting from me. But if you say right away, give me results in 4 hours, I can't do. I just can't deliver in 4 hours. That's what I.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I might be thinking my perspective and trying to rub it on them. But let's see, if it doesn't work out, we might do the other way next time around. But that was my thing. I'm completely in favor of time boxing it, and even I give this example for everybody. If you are right, like people ask me, hey, you know what? I'm new to Salesforce. I don't know anything. I'm just getting scared. My marketing is there. Vendors are asking me questions. I don't know what to answer and all. The only thing that I would say, when I ask those questions, I get it. I get what you're saying. Just do one favor for me. Pick a day, no matter whatever it is, pick a day, take, usually on a regular office day, I go to office around 9 or 10 and I come back by 5 or 6, okay? So that's like 8 to 9 hours of time. And the whole thing, I would only be focusing on my work. So in the similar way, whether you're a fresher or anybody, like, you don't have any experience, pick a day, take Saturday, start at 9 o'clock and end at 6 o'clock. From 9 to 6, don't do anything other than Salesforce. Okay? I mean, I'm not asking do this for a week or anything. Just pick one day, time box it between 9 to 6, and just do random stuff. It doesn't have to be hey, I'm following this path or nothing. Just pick any random topic, read about it, try to create some records, but make sure you spend that whole 9 hours on this. And then if it is possible, try to, because you are you didn't work in Salesforce, take a pen and paper and note down what are all the things that you know about Salesforce before that 8 hours, before spending that 8 hours. Okay, maybe around 8:55, take 5 minutes to make a note of all the things that you know about Salesforce. And after 6 p.m., at 6:05, make a note of all the things that you know about Salesforce. In my experience, the list of things that you would be at least 4 times more than, or 4 folds more than what I had before. Because, I mean, we think about sales, oh, I need to get a job, I don't know how I would be doing it. But we won't be spending at least 1/10 of the time, whatever we spend in thinking, we won't be spending 1/10 of the time in putting it in action. So that's why when you time box it, when you challenge it yourself like that, I mean, personally, those things work for me way better. I know everybody works differently, but personally, that works for me better. And I've done it. I mean, my friends, when they started Salesforce and things like that, I have asked them to do the same thing, and they had great results too. And sometimes I assume that's universal and try to rub it on other people too. But it works. You can give it a try. It's just one day, right? Whether you know the technology, you do not know the technology. That's why. See, I'm never scared to, if people ask me, hey, if Salesforce is gonna go away, what would it be okay? I'm like, I'm not scared. Yeah, let Salesforce go away. There will be another technology. There will be something. I'm not born with Salesforce. I just learned after. When I'm 27 or 26, I started learning Salesforce. I have so much more life before, and even I'm going to have so much more after. If Salesforce is going to go away, yeah, I will spend whatever that 8 or 16 hours, take a new technology, start practicing about it, try to do some exercise, yeah, and I should be able to do it. Like, that's why people ask me that, would you be worried when the technology? No, I'm not worried. Why would I be worried? I would pick a new technology and go. I mean, but But the only thing is, I would spend that 1 or 2 days, like that's 16 hours. I would time box it. I would make sure I get some topics covered before going out for another job on Monday. Because I want that effort to be put in. That's when I get that confidence. Unless that I put in that effort, I would never get that confidence.
You're right, yeah. And what's your team strength? Like, what is the department strength, like Salesforce team strength in your company?
In one of the main projects that I work in, that's a huge one. We have 35,000 users using it. So we have around 16 Salesforce developers.
That's a quite
It's a huge,
number.
it's a huge project. Yeah, in Salesforce world, 16 is huge. Don't
Yeah.
ever tell this to anybody in an interview. If somebody asks, hey, what's your Salesforce team size? And if you say 16, they'll be like, maybe they don't know anything about what they're talking. But yeah, it's a huge team. Whereas usually average sizes would be around 3 to 7. That's the developer size.
Right.
But if you include business analysts, QA, and everybody in the team, the strength would come up to probably around 12. But if we include all those, the project strength that would be more than 30, 25, 30 people. But the reason being, we use Salesforce for everything. We don't use Salesforce as a CRM. We use Salesforce for invoices. We use Salesforce for accounts payable, accounts receivable. We use Salesforce for employee management. We use Salesforce, like everything. The solution is one platform, that's Salesforce. That's how we use it. That's why we have the whole company, 70% of IT works in Salesforce. The rest of 30 work on networking and all other stuff, but most of the things are done in Salesforce. That's why there is such a big team.
So very less companies use this, right? Like a complete Salesforce assistant. Otherwise, normally Salesforce is majority taken only for CRM.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, we operate in a different model, but usually it's CRM. But once they start using it for CRM, they love the features of the platform. You see the conference management app, right? It has got nothing to do with the CRM. But the way you're able to create an app, create these tables, link them, deploy them, build your custom UI, those things, people fall in love with this, and that's why they'll be like, you know what, can we add this app here? Can we build an application for these set of users in Salesforce? It starts with CRM, it starts with basic CRM, then people will start adding so many different things, and it becomes to be a huge part of the company. That's how it starts. I mean, that's how at least most of the projects that I've seen went.
Thank you for the input, Shravan.
No problem. Okay, now I want to talk about Vlookup. Did you guys, anybody know what Vlookup is already? Have you heard what Vlookup is? Okay. I mean, it's not a Salesforce topic, but you would be using this. I mean, I can't imagine my day without doing this at least once. Or not once, maybe once in at least 2 days. I cannot imagine not how my day would go without doing this. Again, I'm not an expert in this. I have my way of doing it. It might not be the most appropriate way, but it works for me, and that's the only thing that I wanted to tell you. There are other ways, I've seen other business analysts doing it a different way, but I never never really put interest in learning it because my way works for me. So, I just don't want to ruin it. Okay. So let's talk about what Vlookup is. It's a simple Excel technique, but we'll talk about some of the users, what it is. Okay. Just say ID number. Okay. I mean, I'll start with a simple example, but I'll show you the real example as well in Salesforce. I'm just looking at the list of people. Okay. Let's see this. Okay. Now we have ID number and we have names associated with them. Okay. Now somebody gives you, like somebody, this is the master file. Like, this is the data that you have. Now somebody gives you, hey, can you find the ID number for these two people? Okay. Somebody gives you a name like this, and they will say, hey, here is the file. Like, you are a developer, and in your database, there are two columns. One column is ID number and another column is name, and you have this data. Like you are the developer, you maintain the system. One of your business analysts or one of your QA or one of your business partner, somebody, they are working on some stuff, okay? And they'll give you some data like, hey, you know what, can you tell me the ID number for these two people? That's the basic question that they ask. They are doing some analysis because they don't deal with the numbers, right? They only deal with the names, So they just gave you these two numbers and they ask you to find the ID. Oh, wow, it's easy because the table is so small and the numbers are very clear. You'll be like, okay, 1 and 5, very easy. But imagine this table is 2 million rows or 1 million rows or 500,000 or 100,000 or even 100 rows of data. And the ID number is gibberish like this. Okay, and the ID number is not straightforward, but a gibberish number like this. If it is straightforward, yeah, we can see with a naked eye and we can tell it. But if the ID number is like this, how would you even tell that, right? Like, like how would you even identify and tell which is the ID? So for these kind of scenarios, we use a technique called Vlookup. Okay, I mean, V stands for vertical lookup. So what we do is we write some formula to be able to compare these two against this database, against this table, and just print the values. Okay. Now, you don't have to follow what I say. You don't have to like exactly know the type how I would do, because you can just Google VLOOKUP and you get millions and millions of YouTube videos or documents, and you can learn from there. The goal is to know, oh, okay, VLOOKUP does this. Okay. So that's the whole goal. I do it in a weird way. I'm absolutely sure there are good ways of doing it. I do it in a weird way, but let's do that. I'll just say, okay, let's assume they give us like this, okay, and we want to find the numbers. Here is what I'll do. I'll just say ID number. So whatever the number that I wanted, I always keep it in the right side column. You don't have to do that, I said, but this is my weird way of doing it. Okay, there are absolutely good ways of doing it. You can practice that. Okay, but this is how it works for me. So whatever the one that I wanted, I always keep it to the right. Okay, so and I'll write a formula is equal to VLOOKUP. Sorry, not this one. Is equal. Okay, if you observe the formula, I'm just saying is equal to VLOOKUP N2. Look for this name. Look for this name N2 in column B and find the corresponding value for that in column C and print it, is what this means. Okay, look for this value in column B, find the corresponding value in column C and print it here. Okay, I mean, again, we can use dollar, exact match and all that, but most of our Salesforce use cases, or at least the common use cases, will be solved with this. If I click enter and then you see this, I click this icon, like so that when I click this, the same will be applied for all the rows that I have here. Okay, if you click, you see, if you click this, you show the formula. If you click this, it shows you the formula. Okay, so I mean, you can follow this, or you can follow a YouTube or Google, whatever way that works for you. There are numerous ways of, people do crazy VLOOKUPs, They have one document in the sheet 1, another document in sheet 2. They do sheet 1 comparison with the values that are in sheet 2. Like I've seen my business analysts doing crazy stuff. I don't get into that because I have my way, and I've done so many things with my approach. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay. Now, I'll give you one more idea. So one more. Now, this is nothing but it's a formula, right? Like, from this, like we are saying, look at this. VLOOKUP, look for the value N2, okay, which is this cell. Try to find it in B and print the corresponding value in C. That's my understanding, and that's how I do it. Okay. But now what happens, you want to give this to your business analyst, right? Either you can copy and give it, but if you're trying to send in an Excel, see, this is a reference. So let's say, you see, when I copied it to somewhere, it is coming as NA. Like when I copy it, because you see, it's a formula. You are basically literally carrying over a formula. That's why what you do is once the VLOOKUP is done, just copy it, copy it, use paste special, and then choose values as the option. So when you choose values as the option, you see the formula nature is gone. These are going to be values. You can copy them anywhere and paste them anywhere. Okay. So I'll tell you one more time. Okay. I'll just clear this. Okay. Is equal to VLOOKUP. Find this one, comma 2, comma false. Okay. And then I put it here, I copy. Let's say I add one more name here. Okay. From here, I double click this and it automatically. Let's say, let me do this. See, we get the whole things that are copied over. Let's say I remove this. You see, it's not applicable. Let's say I remove this. It's not applicable because, let's say I write something gibberish here, something gibberish. So now you can go and say, hey, you gave this file. I found these three values are 1, 4, 5, but there are two rows of data that you have given in the file where I'm unable to find it in the database. Okay. So, but now what you do is once you get the result, you just copy the whole column, use paste special, and then click values. So this way, like you can copy paste this anywhere. You can copy paste in another column and you send it. It would still work. Okay. Now the other way around. Let's say the other way around where I'm going to delete this. So let's say the other way around. Again, some requirement gave you, hey, I have the ID number 4, 3, again 4, 2, 2 or 1, whatever. Like, they get, hey, I was collecting some data. I got these numbers. Can you find the names associated with these numbers? I'm unable to do anything because I just see the numbers. Can you find me the names associated with this? Yeah, why not? Like as per my weird logic, the name should be on the whatever I wanted to be printed, that should be on right side. So I'll just say I'll put the heading called name. You can put anything, you can put the heading anything, but here I'll just say is equal to VLOOKUP. Look for this number in column A and find the corresponding value in column B and print it. Now, it'd be great if you can tell us what this 2 and false. I know this false is an exact match, and then you can add this dollar symbol and all that, but I never really did research related to it. So if you click on this, you see, automatically the values are being printed. You can just copy, paste special, values, and good. Okay. So, let's say some of the use cases, right? Let's say there is a huge database where, you have a huge database of email address, first name, last name, phone number. Okay. Email address, first name, last name, phone number is the whole database that contains. Somebody collected email addresses. In a marketing campaign, they collected email addresses and they want to send a text message to everybody. Now, what would they do? Hey, they take the email address, they get the whole file onto an Excel sheet using the email address. They perform a VLOOKUP to be able to get the phone numbers and send it. Okay. Now, is that clear, everybody? Like why we do VLOOKUP? Like, if you're writing requirements or if you're working as a dev, in order to analyze some of the things, in order to analyze how the data is there, how the existing data is behaving, in order to do some of those things, this is like useful, right? It gives you some answers. It helps you to make some analysis. So that's why I would say it's absolutely a required skill for a dev or admin or anybody to have. Okay. Any questions, guys? Anybody on VLOOKUP? Okay. Now let's talk how VLOOKUP is gonna be useful in real life scenarios. Okay. In tech, like in Salesforce world or in real life scenarios, how it's gonna be useful. I mean, there are number of use cases, but how in our data loading part it's useful. Okay. So your business asked, hey, I want to load some contacts into the system. I'm working on a conference. I'm going to a conference. There I'll be speaking to a lot of people. And I want to add them all as contacts in our system. Okay. And you will say, yeah, why not? I'll be able to help you. But make sure you give me the data in this format. And how would you give you? You'll just say last name, first name, account name. Because if you say, give me account ID, would you be able to ask your business analyst to, or, the business person to give the account ID? They'll be like, what the heck is account ID? What is primary key? Why would I even care about it? All I do is, okay, we have first name, last name, account name, title. Like these are the fields on contact, right? I'm looking at the contact object API name. Like they ask you to load the contacts, right? You'll just talk to them and say, hey, make sure you give me in a specific format, so it becomes easy for me to load. So usually businesses are very good. When you give them a format with the document, they'll always come to you with the data there. Okay. So I'll be like contact. I go to fields and relationship. We have last name, first name. Okay, and then maybe birth date, or they might have email. Like in the Excel, they'll have email, and we already have a field called title that I already gave. Title, phone number. They can give phone number. They can give industry and all, whatever the stuff that we have. But of course, industry is a formula field, so you will not be able to give. So you prepare the Excel sheet with the data, like, you say, hey, here is how you need to give it to us. So what would they do? They will come back. They came up with like this. Last name, account name, okay. So in the other, they will also give some Jane, Doe, Jane, okay. Let's say they gave the file like this. I mean, I'm only talking about 2 accounts here, but let's say they gave us a file like this, okay, and they asked us to load the contacts. Now, if I load the contacts like this, will Salesforce agree, or will Salesforce throw some error? Do you see anything wrong with the file here? If I try to insert the data into contact object, would I get an error, or would the data gets loaded?
You will get an error. Because
Why?
there is no contact.
There is no contact. See, I
In the
have
column.
all the fields, right? I have the, like if I go to the contact object here, see if I go to new, see I'm trying to create contact. See, always creation of contact through data loader is no different than like creating things from the UI. So what you have, I have the last name field, I have the first name field, I have the account name, I have the title, okay, and I also have the email field. And among all this, the only last name is required. So I don't even have a problem here. So only last name is required. So if I click save, the contact should be created even from the data loader. Like if you see here, you see, I have the last name, I have the first name, I have the account name, I have the title, I have the email, all the columns are there. And then, each represents a row. I have the data here properly. Now, if I load this, if I try to load, use this option, I'll save this as CSV file, and if I use insert option, would the data gets loaded or would we get any error?
It will get loaded.
It will load. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this account, right? Is it a text or technically in the backend, is it a 18-digit ID? So, okay, let me say this title. So, is there a difference between this account name field and this title field? Is there a difference between these two? Title is just a text field, simple text field. But you see, account is a lookup field, right? Now, when I'm marking Avega 6 as the account, is like in the backend. In the backend, is Salesforce storing the 18-digit ID of this Avega 6 account, or is it just storing the text Avega 6?
No, it's 18-digit, which is stored in backend.
Yeah, ideally, what Salesforce is storing is, let me copy something like this. So this is the Avega 6 account, right? Okay, let me copy the ID. Okay, this is the ID of Avega 6 account. Remember, every row in Salesforce gets its own key. This is the ID. So now I'm going here. I click new. So last name is something. And here, technically, like Salesforce is storing this. Okay, it is in the backend, it is storing this. But will somebody be able to understand what it is? No. That's why they gave an option. Okay, that's why they gave an option like search option. So in the front end, like we select this. In the front end, we select this, but let me show you an inspect element. I just want to show you in the back end. There will be, so if we do this, hard to find in here. Okay, it's a little bit, I need to expand the whole thing. But what they do is they have a hidden field which they are not showing it here. But the moment you choose Avega 6 here, automatically they store that 18-digit ID into that hidden field. Okay, we are not seeing here. The name itself is hidden field, so we don't see it here. So, but now when I save it, that's when the record gets saved. Okay, you see the record got saved, and there is a relationship that is established between account and this contact. We are saying, hey, Avega 6 is the parent for this contact. Okay, so that's the 18-digit ID does. Now, with that understanding, Now tell me, if we load this, would I get an error or would I be, because we are not using the UI, we are using the backend, like we are directly dealing with the database. Because here in this case, we are dealing with the UI. In the UI, Salesforce is giving some magic like, hey, you choose this. I'm already storing the backend, and in the backend, I won't send this name. I'll be sending this ID to the database, and hence the data is getting stored. The magic is done on the backend, like in the UI, Salesforce is doing. Now here, because we are dealing with Excel here, and we are trying to, we are dealing with Excel, and we are trying to load the data directly into the database. There is no UI magic or nothing like that. Now, how do I interact with the database? The way how the data have to be actually stored. So now if I load this like this, it would say, hey, I don't know what this means. This is not the 18-digit ID I'm expecting for. Even this one, this is not the 18-digit I'm expecting for. Like, so we get an error. Let's see this in practice. Okay, I'll just say save as in the data loader folder. I'll just say Excel format CSV, and I'll say contact dataload.csv. Okay. Now you go to insert password authentication. Oh man. Okay, what should I do after this password? I entered my password. Do I have to do anything else, or can I just click login? See, if I click login, I'll get this error. So what would I do? I go here, go to settings. I think we discussed in the other class. Go to reset security token and click reset my security token. So I got an email from Salesforce. Copy the security token. No shit. Oh, here. I copy this right after my password, no space, nothing. Right after my password, I paste the security token and click login. Then the login will be successful because I'm directly interacting with the database. Salesforce wants to enforce that additional security. Your password is not sufficient. It needs another something called security token. Okay. Next. Now we want to load into contact object. So which object we want to load? Contact. Good. What is the file that we want to use? We want to use contact data load. That's it, right? Yeah, contact data load. That's created today. Okay. So click open. So next. Okay, it will contain 2 records. Good. Now I'll just say create or edit a map. I'll just use auto match. You see, when I did the auto match, all the columns, email, first name, last name, title, map, account name didn't get mapped. So now I just have to map it to this account ID. Okay. So, and then I hit next. So this is the directory where the success error logs have to be stored. We already created a folder already. So I'm pointing it to success error log. So if something failed, I would know what record failed. If something passed, I know what record is passed. So I click finish. You see, 0 successes and 2 errors. Great. Let's see what they are. So we go to my folder. We have the data loader folder. In the success error log, which one is the latest? The 27th. This is the latest. You see? Account ID, why it failed? Account ID value of incorrect type, Ivega 6, ID value of incorrect type, enter value. Because see, in the front end, just because, like for all the other columns are good, it's just that this column, because it's a lookup field, right? It's a relationship field. Relationship field is nothing but, we need to give it the ID, the 18-digit ID that it wants. Now, how do you get it? Like, because it's 2 accounts. Okay, oh, you found this. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. Yeah, this is a relationship field. I need to give the ID. Why am I giving this? So you clear out the error. Okay, you learned your lesson. You clear out the error. And now you want to do a reload. Now, how do you do a reload? There are 2 ways. Okay. One good way. Okay, you go to this account here. copy this ID, paste it here, and you go to enterprise car rental. You go here, get your ID, and save it. Save it and load it, and it will load absolutely perfectly with no issues. And like if it loads, and when you load it, if you go and see in the front end, when this contact record is loaded, if you go and look in the front end, it would still show you as the name would still show as like this. But in the back end, how are you loading it? You are loading it the 18-digit ID. But in the front end, of course, because Salesforce does this magic in the UI, they parse it and they show you what it is. But ultimately, it's a back end field. Now, because there are two accounts, you just did a simple, copy paste from here. Now, what if there are 2,000 records or 10,000 records or 20,000, 50,000 records with various accounts, like with a lot of accounts? How would you do that? Okay, that's when the Vlookup thing that I told you will be helpful. So what would you do first? You go here. First, what you do is you click export. You say account, and you'll say account data extract .csv. Click save. And next. So what you do is you want 18-digit ID, you want name, okay? You want ID and name from the account. Okay, good. So let's go back to the extraction. So account data extract. You see this? You got the name and you got the ID. Okay, you got the ID of all the IDs and you got all the names of the accounts. Now, here is your contact file. Okay, here is your contact file with the name like this. Okay, I'll just add one more. Let me just name it as whatever it is, enterprise. I just want to limit. So now you have this file. Okay, so what will you do? Your business gave this. Of course, they don't deal with 18-digit numbers. They don't even they don't care about this. All they do is, hey, this is the file. I want you to load this file. So now it's up to you. Oh, okay, they gave me account name. Let me find the account ID using the account name, because otherwise you will not be able to load. So you take this extract. Okay, you copy this extract. Again, like I said, there are so many ways. You might be able to find a way to do between two sheets. I don't know that. But here is how I will do. I copy it. I come here. I paste it here. I will add another column called account ID. Okay. So I will add another column to the template called account ID. So now I want the ID. I have the name. Like I have the name. I want the ID. So I will paste my ID column to the right, because whatever I want, I will paste it to the right. So now here I will write the is equal to Vlookup. No, I don't want to do this. Okay, let me just move this a little bit. I'll just say is equal to Vlookup this D2 from the whole bunch of M and N and print this value. Okay, I do this. You see, I got for Avega 6, if you compare, you see WJQAD, it's ending with WJQAD. For enterprise car rental, where is enterprise? VJPFQAD, VJPFQ. For enterprise, we don't have that account, and hence we got it as NA. And the first thing that you do is you copy it, because this is a reference one, right? So let's say You see, it's gone because this is a reference, right? So it's gone. So this is a formula. Now it is referring this value. There is a connection between here and here. So that's why what you do, the moment you got this, first thing that you do is copy, paste special, click values and save. Now you can delete it. You can do whatever you want with this. Like you can delete, it still doesn't go away because you have removed, by copying and pasting it as values, you have removed the reference to it. Okay? Okay, I can put it back here. So now, now what you can do is, you can send them back the file. You can just apply a filter condition here. You'll just say data filter and you'll say choose NA and you'll say, hey, you know what? I did my analysis and these are the records. These are the records that I couldn't find the account for, but other rest of the records, I perform the data load. Everything is good. Can you make sure you are giving me the right? Then they will do some analysis. Oh, maybe the name of the account is wrong. Can you make it as enterprise rental? Then you will do it as enterprise rental. And then, you can correct that record in whatever you can correct it. And then you will do the data load. So now I'll just remove this. Okay. I will clear this out. So now you keep this, you hit save as, you'll be like contact data load with IDs dot CSV and save. Okay. Now I go here, click insert, contact object, browse, contact data load with IDs, choose next. Okay. Create a map, auto match, I'll match, auto match. I don't want to map account name. I have the account ID map to account ID, email to email, first name to first name, last name. I have all. I don't care about account name because it's not going anywhere. Then click finish. Oh, I got one error. Let's see what that error is. So one success and one error. So I go to success error log, which is the latest one. 745 one is the error one. Use one of these records. Oh, maybe there is a duplicate rule because we have Jane Doe already created. I think it was throwing a duplicate error saying that, for contacts, if we enable some duplication rules, that's why it might not be taking in. I've never seen this error. Use one of these records. It doesn't look like a custom error that we built. It looks like some standard error that Salesforce is giving because I think we must already have a contact named Jane Doe. Let me search for it. Yeah, we already have a contact called Jane Doe. That's why, because it's duplicate, Salesforce throwed an error like, hey, you already have one record. That's why it is throwing that error. But the other record is successful. Let's go to that other record. Oh, not this one. Sorry. The success log. 745 success log. Okay. You see, this is the record that got created. Item created is the status. And automatically we have a 18-digit ID that is created by Salesforce. Let me copy this ID. Go to that record. You see, I got Shravandeep in India as the name. And you see, though we loaded account ID as the 18-digit, in front end we are saying it as Avega 6. But in the back end, if we query, if we export, or if we load, we have to do the right way, which is nothing but this one. And you see, where did we get the mailing address from? We didn't do the mailing address, but we already have a process builder, right? That process builder has this rule that says, hey, whenever a record is created or updated, if based on the account's address, automatically populate this address. So the process builder also kicked in and automatically updated the address depending on the account address. Okay? Does it make sense? Like how Vlookup is used? Right. Anybody? Any questions on this? Vlookup is definitely not anywhere related to Salesforce. It's just an Excel technique, but it's helpful in doing so many things like this, even when you want to answer some questions, even in your real life, like if you're trying to analyze something, analyze some of the data that you have, or, you know, you have your friend's contact list and you want to send a mass email to everybody or like mass text message to everybody, you can just, export everything into Excel, perform some VLOOKUPs and send it. Does it make sense? Any questions on why we did what we did? Why we are loading the IT? So the reason why I wanted you to perform data loading, right? Like exporting, inserting the data, all that. It's just, you get this understanding. Let's say you're trying to load the opportunity data. Okay. Let's say you're trying to load this opportunity data. So if you're trying to load the opportunity data, how would you do? Like, okay, you want the opportunity name and you see the account name here. Would you put the account name here? No, because it's a lookup relationship field. You want to load it with account ID, like, the ID of the account. And, you can get all the numbers depending on, like if, let's say there is a integer, type is integer or type is decimal, you have to put the numbers. If because if the date, here you have the date you see it like this, but there are some acceptable formats. You need to say date format. Date format Salesforce data loader. You see, Salesforce only accepts in this format. So you need to make sure in your Excel sheet, you need to have a close date column. Okay. You need to have a close date column, and that close date should follow the format that Salesforce is asking us to. So you need to put it that way, and hence you will be able to load the data. So yeah, that's why create some opportunities, create some accounts, create some, contacts with whatever data that you have, or download it from any of the database and just, try to do that load. This way you get practice and you also get more understanding. Okay, how, this is how I'm mapping. This is, like if you do this, if you plan this carefully, you will get a lot of things cleared from application standpoint. Okay. Now in real production, in production or when you work in an enterprise level company, what are some of the precautions that you need to take? One, I told you, right, the settings, settings, make sure, you choose the right server URL, right batch size, that's number one. Number two, what I do is, in the beginning, when I started working as an admin, a data load used to scare me because one of my first projects, I just got my job. On second day, they asked me to load. There is a concept called price book. I'll tell you what that is. There is a concept called price book. They asked me to load 50,000 entries into a price book. Okay, they asked me to load 50,000 entries into a price book, but because I didn't know this object model and everything, I have created 50,000 price books. Like, there is so much difference. I mean, such a huge, like, imagine there is one price book. Okay, it's like, how do I say? It's like, the difference is, there is a movie theater. They ask me to build 50,000, create 50,000 seats in the movie theater. Instead, because I didn't understand the technology right, I built 50,000 movie theaters. That's the difference, of what they asked versus what I loaded in the database. That's the huge mistake I made. Fortunately, they are good people. They didn't say, they thought I got confused. They explained me, hey, you're not supposed to build 50,000 theaters, but I'm asking you to create seats, 50,000 seats in one theater, then later. But the lesson that I learned from that is, when you're in the beginning, when you don't know the data loading, properly, if you don't have clarity, whether you're beginning or advanced, I don't care. Here is what you would do. First of all, try to create one or two records from the UI. Like, if they're asking you to load 10,000 opportunities, okay, take in one of your test environment, go click new, try to create something from the UI and save it. See how things are behaving. And that's when you will be able to, by doing this, when you look at your Excel sheet, you'll be like, oh, am I seeing the same columns? Like, do I have type, lead, source, order number, main competitor, or am I seeing anything else, like any different fields? Okay, when you do one or two records from the UI, you will get that idea. Okay, the columns are good. Now, make sure, let's say close date is a required field. Opportunity name is a required field. In your Excel sheet, if you don't have opportunity name and close date, you will anyway get failed. The records will anyway be failed. So you need to contact the person who gave you the file to perform the data load and ask them, hey, the opportunity name and close date is not there. So the records would fail. Those are mandatory fields at the object level. So can you give me that data? So, then they will get you the, other. Then the most important step is to, even they give you like 10,000, 100,000, 50,000 rows of data, just take a sample of 5 rows or 3 rows of data. Like, take a sample of 3, 5, 6 rows, whatever, like a very tiny sample of data. First, perform the data load on that. Like, once you figured out, you have all the data, perform the data load on those 5 records first. Okay? If you get, successful, like these are the number of records that are success, go check those records in the UI. Like, let's say you loaded this, open it in the UI, go to the details, compare it with what's given in the Excel, check whether field to field is coming correctly or not. Sometimes date, because of some format changes, they might come differently. You might be loading something else and you might be seeing things differently. So make sure you check, okay, here is what I loaded. These are the random, like check 3, 4 or 5 records, ensure all the records are loaded and prop. Now, once you made all this, then do the large data volume, like 20,000, 30,000 records. And then even after doing that, randomly check some 50,000 row or 40,000 row or whatever, randomly check some records and then confirm, yes, the data load is completed. So if you do all this, you will not end up in a scenario like what I ended up like creating. That's such a blunder that I made. But again, in data loader, like look at this. You see this? Like when you say insert, like if you go here, you see, there is price book and price book entry. So instead of clicking this, I click this. I mean, I didn't know that these two exist or, all those things. I didn't really know. It was very new. I don't even know that what this price book entry means and what price book means. So instead of clicking this one and performing the data load, I click this one and I perform the data load. Because I didn't know the concept well, I'm like, oh, I was so happy when I was loading that. I saw the success. Like, when you're loading it, it shows you how many records succeeded and how many records failed, right? I loaded 50,000 rows and I saw 50,000 succeeded and 0 errors. And I'm like, oh, I was on top of the world. Like, oh, my data load succeeded. Nobody can stop me now. But later I realized, that was such a dummy data load that I did. Instead of doing the price book entry to a price book, I just did price book. That's why, like, if I had followed these, like, try to do it from the front end and see if the columns that I'm trying to load are there or not. Take a sample of 5 records. If I've done that, maybe I would have noticed or I would have caught my error rather than, doing something directly, especially in production. I did that in production. I'm so grateful that they didn't fire me right next minute. I'm sure there will be, among 100 companies, 99 companies would have fired me right that minute for the mistake that I made. But again, you learn from the mistakes. It's not like you go in with all the expertise to a project. But as much as possible, like the thing is, I didn't know the concept of sandboxes, test environment at that point. So if I had known that, there will be a sandbox that exists which is nothing but a test environment. You'll have all these objects and everything in that test environment. Had I known that, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. Maybe I would have probably loaded it in the test environment first, checked everything is good in test environment, and that's when I might have probably loaded in production. Since I didn't know that concept, yeah, I made such a blunder mistake, and hopefully you guys don't make it. Okay. Any questions, guys? All right. I will see you guys tomorrow around same time. I just have two very quick topics, like five minutes topic: update operation and delete operation. They're very, very easy. So I'll just cover those and move on to the core meat of security. Like, we move on to profiles and permissions, which is gonna be so interesting, and it's a good topic. Okay. Um, I know I talk a lot. Apart from the subject, I talk all this other stuff, but hopefully that's way more helpful than the actual subject that I talk. Okay. I will see you guys tomorrow then.